2023 was the best year in Mega Man Battle Network history, full stop. We're going to be covering everything that happened last year, a bit of a year's retrospective, as well as being optimistic and thinking about all the things we might be able to expect in 2024. Hey there, I'm Scoutmaster Demi. I make a lot of Mega Man content. I host a lot of tournaments. And of course, we're also expanding to other retro video games too, like playing every single DS game. So right off the bat, we're going to be covering two fan-led projects that you may not have known about that happened at the end of 2023 and are both extremely exciting. They both have to do with long-lost Japanese exclusive content that we thought we'd never be able to play. So I went to France alongside Good Tofu Friday, and we were able to preserve two very, very legendary arcade machines from a very private collector named Emmanuel EXE. A big salute to him for trusting us with this very, very important task. These were both very successful events that happened. In fact, we were able to rip all of the sound files and a lot of cutscene data from Battleship Stadium, as well as Metal Operation. You can find them right here on our YouTube channel if you're interested. And both of these are basically ready to go. The only thing that we need to do is get the actual emulation going as far as gameplay goes. They're both kind of weird machines, right? So Metal Operation is a token-based game. If you ever went to Chuck E. Cheese and you know the games, you put in your token or your penny or a quarter, whatever, and you got the shovel pushing them. It's one of those games with a really big video game component. So yeah, how do you emulate putting in coins in a machine? And then Battleship Stadium did use actual real-life battleships like this one right here. So how do you emulate inserting those? A little bit trickier. So again, some very smart people are working on them. I can't wait to break that news when it happens. But again, extremely exciting stuff. I've got a documentary that I've been working on about that whole process because we were able to get there from an $8,000 successful charity stream that we did thanks to you guys. I cannot thank you, the donors, enough. And of course, we'll be thanking you more in depth with the video as well. But hot off the press, I'm talking less than a week ago, right? Today is January 1st, 2024. Happy New Year. Hot off the press last week, cell phone games got preserved, right? So there are two, well, there's actually three, but two of the more interesting ones for Mega Man Battle Network are Rockman EXE, Legend of Network, and Rockman EXE, Phantom of Network. These games are interesting because, first off, they're cell phone games, right? They're not smartphones. These are straight up flip phone games that people used to play with way back in the day. And despite that, they actually are fully fledged Battle Network experiences. You've got jacking into the net, you've got building your folder, you've got talking to people, a bit of a story. It's pretty interesting. Of course, it is a cell phone, right? So you're not going to have, beautiful 60 frames per second like you're going to have on the GBA. The sound quality is not perfect either with the emulation. And because it's hot off the press, it's entirely in Japanese. So I've been literally using Google Lens on my phone to translate through the game and play through it. But still, these are fully playable games that happen. In fact, those are just 2 games out of 8 Mega Man games in general that were able to be preserved from the cell phones, including a Mega Man Legends game that honestly looks really good for a cell phone, flip phone game. So amazing stuff. A big shout out to Good Tofu Friday, who was very, very involved in both of those projects. And Rockman Cosmo is somebody we're going to be interviewing very soon. So a big shout out to him as well. Now, of course, those are both fan-led projects. What about Capcom themselves? What did they have to say about the Legacy Collection? Well, I think we can all agree that this was a smash hit that wildly succeeded even my own optimistic predictions, right? This game sold 1 million copies, over 1 million copies in 2 weeks from the game coming out. Now, again, keep in mind, this is not some brand new Mega Man game that's, got all the bells and whistles and has, got all sorts of brand new content. These are effectively remasters of, 20-year-old Game Boy Advance games, and they sold like fire. In fact, it is currently the 5th best-selling Mega Man game. This article from Rockman Corner was over 6 months ago, and it already has it as the 5th best-selling Mega Man game of all time. It is well on its way to being number 1 because every other game that beats it on the list has been out for like over 5 years. Every single one of them, right? This game is not even 1 full year out yet. In fact, I think Capcom really knew something special was happening with the Legacy Collection because they did actually release brand new commercials just for this. Other Mega Man Legacy Collections did not get any sort of commercial material. And not only that, we're talking about having all of the anime uploaded to YouTube for a limited amount of time with upscaled visuals, right, in both English and Japanese. In fact, the Capcom Twitch page even live streamed just about every single episode, which was extremely cool. Even the movie itself, which was upscaled, amazing stuff. And if you want to talk about exciting things from Capcom, how about this manga chapter from Ryo Takamasaki? This is a 20-year special in the story of the game, obviously not 20 years ago. But it features Lan's son, Pachikari, with official art, or as close to official art as we'll ever get. I think that's extremely cool. It was also officially translated in English on Capcom's very own website. So we're talking about brand new content here. Now, it's no secret that the Legacy Collection wasn't perfect at launch. There were some bugs and some soft locking issues with getting the Django 3 chip or getting the Anubis chip in Battle Network 6. There were also some issues with online net battles, which as a tournament organizer was very, very upsetting. The 20-second rule timer was very, very quick when it came to selecting your custom chips. That was not something you could edit. And there was also a lot of issues with actual rollback netcode. You would often desync from your opponent. It would be really, really obvious at certain points, and it just made online battling really unfortunate. Then came a patch out of nowhere, folks. Out of nowhere, Capcom showed support for the Legacy Collection that blew people away. It changed the timer from 20 seconds to 30, which is infinitely better, a 1.5 times increase. There are no longer desync issues, which is amazing. It fixed all of the bugs that needed fixing, and it included a lot of other quality of life stuff for older Battle Network games. It was just amazing to see that Capcom really cared enough about this game to make it as best as it could possibly be. Then we had a bunch of crossovers. Teppen, for example, is run by Capcom. This is their real-time card-based TCG, and it is something that had an entire chapter dedicated to Battle Network. Super cool stuff, including a lot of new art if you've never seen that before. There was also a crossover with the Japanese game Compass. I don't really know what this is, to be completely honest with you, but hey, the gameplay looks really cool. The models look really nice. And of course, there's also the third-time collaboration with Metabots, which I guess is actually called Metarots in Japan. There's a whole thing about that, but hey, what do I know? And last but not least, but I think perhaps the most telling, Capcom had an official survey dedicated to finding out what users thought of the Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection. I made a whole video on this months and months ago where I was really optimistic about the future, and I remain extremely, extremely optimistic. I think that Capcom cannot ignore the success of the Mega Man Battle Network Legacy Collection. 1 million sales in 2 weeks for effectively GBA games. That's pretty bonkers, don't you think? And I think that there's a lot of other stuff that is completely untapped. For example, I know that there were a lot of people who were upset that the DS version of Battle Network 1, which was of course a Japanese exclusive game, was not ported to the Legacy Collection. The same was true of the BN5 DS game, which was out in America as well. I think that both of these games, and hear me out, this might be a little crazy, I think it's possible that these games are being saved out for a Star Force Legacy Collection, which I think is basically guaranteed to happen at this point. Again, I know that Star Force wasn't nearly as popular as Battle Network. I still love it, and I think Star Force 3 might be the best Mega Man game of all time, fight me. But that being said, I know that there's a lot of stuff that could be related to it, right? So if you have to think about actually emulating the DS system on newer systems like the PS5 and Switch and things like that, well, it's not such an easy compatibility thing, right? You've got 2 screens to think about, as well as one of them being a touchscreen. So how do you solve that problem? I think Capcom is waiting for the solution to be released with the Star Force Legacy Collection, since they're all going to be DS games anyway. In fact, the BN1 remake is essentially a Star Force crossover. I think that that is basically guaranteed 100% a slam dunk for a Star Force Legacy Collection. At that point, you may as well throw in BN5, because even though it's completely unrelated to Star Force, you may as well throw in a 5th game, right? Yeah, I don't know, a bit more of a stretch, but still, Capcom can't ignore Mega Man fans. It's just the simple fact, right? Especially when you consider that years ago, before the pandemic, Proto Dude, the most reliable Mega Man source of information, period, was somebody who talked about mobile games being in development. Now, the original news articles on Rockman Corner, as well as his tweets, have been taken down. We only have records of them still in the inverse on Reddit, people talking about them on different forums and whatnot. But still, even with all that information being taken down, you have to stop and consider Mega Man Battle Network kind of is a slam dunk for mobile games. In fact, those flip phone games I think were kind of ahead of their time, weren't they? Now, we do have to be honest with ourselves. If Capcom still has a Mega Man Battle Network mobile game in development, they probably do. It seems unlikely they would just throw away all their assets they made, although then again, we look at Legends 3 and Mega Man Universe, and okay, maybe not. Let's not. We're only optimistic thoughts for 2024, right? Still, I think it's not so likely that this mobile game, if it's still being developed, is going to be a full-fledged RPG like the flip phone games that we recently dumped. I think it's a lot more likely that it's going to be a gacha. I kind of hate gachas. I think they're basically the most unethical way to make money imaginable. But I would also throw down for Mega Man, right? I feel like this is a second wind of sorts for an amazing franchise that's unlike anything else that's like it. If you think about it, between pulling battleships, between pulling navies, that's probably the biggest thing that you would pull in a gacha game. It's kind of a slam dunk, and if they have a base banner, Lord knows that they would probably raise even more money than all the Legacy Collection sales combined, right? So again, Mega Man smartphone game, maybe not the most exciting option, but a pretty realistic one given what we know. And hey, look, I hate gachas as much as anyone else, but if Capcom releases an exciting PvP battle system with regular updates and maybe some official tournaments. That's all I need to get excited, right? And hey, what if we have a Mega Man reboot? If you stop and think about it, all those years ago, BN had a pretty realistic view of what the future could look like, but I think that cell phones are basically PETs, right? If we went for more of a smartphone reboot with the system, I think you could have a slightly different universe that's a little bit more, in vogue with maybe the youngsters of today. Wow, I'm such an old man. That could also be kind of fun, right? Or hey, how about even just BN7, right? We now have an idea of what Pachikari Landsun could look like as a result of that amazing manga chapter. So maybe him as a new protagonist could be something kind of interesting too. Look, no matter where you side on reboot versus new game or whatever, I think there's no reason not to be excited about 2024. Look at all those amazing things that happened in 2023 by fans, by Capcom, by crossovers, by whatever. It was absolutely the best. And look, maybe this is not the most exciting time to be a classic fan or X-Series fan or whatever, but I think that a rising ship carries all tides, a rising tide carries all ships. I think that having Mega Man Battle Network be such an exciting smash hit is something that will only benefit other Mega Man fans. So that's my little soapbox. I hope you guys are having an amazing new year. I'm so excited to release new video game related content for everybody else. I'm really working hard on 2024 to expand our channel to not just more exciting video games, but also having other dumb tournaments and also doing more IRL stuff too. And speaking of tournaments, please don't forget to sign up for our $500 prize tournament. It was $400, but thanks to our friend Rebik, it did get increased additionally. I'm so excited for it. I can't wait for an amazing year of new tournaments, new experiences, new videos, new whatever. I hope you guys are having an amazing, restful time with your family, and I'll see you soon, Scouts.